Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for the anime Housing Complex C on Toonami. And I overall did not really like or enjoy this one, not because of the subject matter or because it was too short. It just didn't execute very well on the premises that it really kind of had, because you got this whole kind of mystery and you're like, okay, what's going on in this sleepy little town? It's connected to kind of Elder God Cthulhu kind of stuff. It's like, okay, cool, but once you kind of have that, they don't really do much with it. Sure, we see there's a small seaside kind of town of Kurosaki. We get these people from the city that come in, and we have people from another country, from the Middle East, as fishing interns. It's really kind of weird. It's I don't know if it's for a fishing company as tech interns or what's kind of going on. It's just they're here because we need the kind of clash between the residents and these foreigners kind of thing. And it's alright. And I wouldn't mind them delving into that kind of more and having that as a kind of more salient kind of plot point. But you just have an old lady who's curmudgeonly against them, and then weird stuff starts happening with dead animals being strewn around in places, and then of course you got the Cthulhu cult underneath that is somehow interwoven with everything going on. However, you only have 4 episodes to really kind of do this, and that's where it really gets into its problem. Yes, it's a mini-series, but it is so kind of rushed, but also it's rushed, but it goes kind of too slow as well, if that makes sense, because they kind of take too slow to kind of get to the point where they have to info dump your ass in the last episode of what's actually kind of going on. And it just doesn't execute well enough, and I don't really get as invested in the characters of what's kind of going on. Because you see Kimmy, she's, the darling of the housing complex C, pretty much. And it's alright, so you got most of these people, you got this professor dude who's pretty much trying to figure out everything. Your typical kind of Lovecraftian kind of protagonist of I've learned too much, and then goes insane and dies, pretty much. Now granted, not every Lovecraftian protagonist has the dying part. Usually the insane madness kind of does the whole kind of thing for it. But we see dead animals, Kimmy and Yuri. Yuri is the daughter of the head people in charge of the interns. We try and see Kimmy trying to get people to work together and everything, but other people are kind of mucking it up, where they try and do this whole kind of sauce for this shaved ice party, and there's a dead dog's head in it, and everybody's fuck. Of course they were almost all together, and yeah, and before everybody's pointing and blaming everybody else, we get this Khan character who is very nice and wants to help people. Pretty much we get this pretty much red herring kind of thing of he's trying to kill people, and he's not. And we learned that it's actually Yuri and her parents that are part of it, because we get to the end and we see that they need to somehow wrap up the mystery somehow, and we see that there's this whole kind of ancient legend. He figured out what was going on. Somebody's trying to pretty much pervert the local kind of god deity thing, because we got the dead slumbering god that these fish people worship. And the thing is, we also got this flashback of this previous kind of thing of Kimmy looking like a priestess and Yuri being one of her attendants or whatnot, being killed by someone, and that doesn't factor into really anything at all. It was almost useless enough for me to be why is this even contained in here? And trust me, if they had done something with it or attempted to do something with it, I'm fine with that. My only problem is then with the execution. Is alright, what does this do? Because the information we get, it's alright, because you're looking at everything, and Kimmy's looking at this weird kind of embryo thing. It's what the fuck is this? Why is it her mom? We don't really get anything on that. We see that it looks like 2000, and everybody's pretty much in a time loop as everything is talked about. And the thing is, we've got the Cthulhu dead god kind of thing going on, and these fish people are offering human sacrifices to this other reality distorting deity, which we learn is Kimmy, to try and get her to revive their dead god. And it's just I understand people can get caught up in their own kind of stuff, and these people are violent, obsessive, just, I'm gonna kill shit, and we're gonna be nasty ass evil people. Like, I don't mind that being the core basis of who a person is, but we're not really given anything other than they are assholes for the sake of being assholes. But we don't even really get them explaining that the part, because we got to get info dumped by this old dude explaining everything going on. And it's like, oh, they're like, if you need to somewhat trying to appease a reality distorting deity like Kimmy to try and revive your god has problems, and if you need another god to fix your god, that calls into question like the godhood of your god. And Kimmy just is, she doesn't like that shit. And we see that like Yuri's trying to like make it look good. Her parents are like killing people, and we see that Kimmy's actually been like using moss to get rid of pretty much the dead bodies and everything going on. It's like, alright, cool. We see that Khan pretty much is able to survive, but is able to like fight off the mother and father pair, and then Yuri tries to like kill Kimmy before Kimmy's like, I'm fucking over this shit. And it's like pretty much info dumps her shit. It's like, I've been doing this for fucking ever, doing this time loop, trying to get to a point where you guys don't do this shit. And then she also starts bringing in Yuri's parents one piece at a time and dashing blood on her, and she's like, yes, I'll worship you, I'll kill and maim and everything like that. It's like, you still don't get it. That isn't the shit that she's into, and she doesn't want that shit. It's like, wow, you are really kind of weird in that you are stuck on this mutilation, killing, horrible kind of shit, and we don't know why, and that you're still trying to win over this deity, and she's like, nah, I'm kind of done with humans at this point. And she had left instructions for Khan, and apologizes to his deity as he utilizes the protection spell to protect himself from when Kimmy pretty much bloots out Yuri. I say bloots because she starts like vomiting up herself and moss, and then just bloops out, and then she kind of gets done, and then we're pretty much in the kind of present kind of times, and Kimmy's got white hair, and that's kind of where it ends. It's like, alright, I get that you're trying to like get some kind of themes and stuff like that, and that breaking of cycles, and like we get stuck in this cycle of like, okay, we try and do good stuff, and then it doesn't really work out. But it's all in the execution, and this doesn't really execute it very well. Now granted, I have seen stuff done worse than this, but this was just like, I expected more from it. Now granted, I am not the most, I'm not the best kind of source to review kind of horror kind of stuff, because I don't usually go into it that much, and it's just not usually my jam. So this, I don't mind like giving it a shot and whatnot. It's just, and it's not even like the subject matter or the subject material of like the darkness and like people like just killing people, and then just pretty much trying to blame it on like, oh, I'm trying to work this deity over to my side to make my god come back to life, when they just really want to fucking kill people and hurt people and everything. It's just not well executed. It takes too long to get through the kind of mystery, and then once you get through the mystery, you have to have it info dumped just to have it make any sense. Like, a good mystery and a good build-up is you get clues throughout every kind of one. Each episode should have been like a chapter that bookends each other one until we get to an end point. Now granted, that's the kind of flow I would go through with this, because otherwise, if you're not careful, you just kind of lollygag around for a little bit. You're like, ah shit, I gotta get all my salient points in to the last concluding paragraph of my paper. And then you get the info dumps that happen. And it's like, alright. And now info dumps aren't always a bad thing. It's all in how you do the info dump. And this is just like, the dude saying all this stuff is looking at this kind of stuff. It's like, alright. It's not as dynamic and interactive as it could be within the story and the narrative. So I really wouldn't, I definitely not would recommend this to young people, like children, or people that are not into like gore and stuff like that, especially the last episode, because you're a person pretty much vomits and like fucking goes inside out at the end, and it's just like, oh shit. And the animation is decent enough. Like, I've seen worse animation. I've also seen other animation that's kind of drawn me in more. This is like neutral in that regard to me. It's like, all right, this is good enough quality that I don't feel like people were fucked over at this point. Well, people could have been fucked over with it because I don't know the working conditions of what's going on. Like, sometimes you're like, this looks like it was done pretty kind of fast because people don't know how to fucking, like, set out deadlines for what's going on. Versus, like, painstakingly done stuff. Like, the animation quality was okay. It's decent enough to, like, give you the presence of what's going on, but it doesn't draw me in. I'm like, alright. But that's also down to the content as well for characters, and, like, I didn't really get much out of the characters either. It's like, ooh, the bad guys, Khan's at least decent enough for me to go like, I hope he makes it out, kind of final girl kind of style, and Kimmy is just like, I don't know why the fuck I'm here kind of bit. I'm like, me too, Kimmy. So I would not really recommend this. It's short to the point where it's almost like, there's other kind of anime that I would rather invest my time in, and it just really doesn't give much. Now, granted, if you need something on in the background, sure, definitely, cool. But I would recommend going to other kind of stuff first. So those are my opinions on the anime. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also, like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.